We are on the verge of a worldwide race war, the hatred of 500 or more years coming to a head. Rather than having eased anything through prosperity, we have permitted tyrants to rule, while we have remained somewhat insulated. Now the Arabs, who are filthy rich and control the oil, have the means to strike back at the age-old crusades for which they still harbor festering hate. It's not the Jews they despise, but the colonialism of Britain in the Middle East which brought Palestine to Israel, Zion. Thus, Islamic terrorism, caliphate, Ahmadinejad as a hero to many Persians, bin Laden as a folk hero, etc. That is but one part of this race war. The black man now has a power called leeway, in that it has become almost forbidden for government to identify perpetrators as black. This weakness is one exploited by racial blacks who stir up ghettos filled with animosity already for the disparity between safe white neighborhoods and deadly black ones. It doesn't matter if the reality is that the black ghetto is savage, with gangs and fatherlessness, drugs and filth. That is to them a relic of slavery and segregation, apartheid and racism. That is why they say a black man can't be racist, because his circumstances dictate it, but more so his destiny as African makes him king in his own eyes. This superiority is enhanced by some ego in the aforementioned leeway that gives the black man a power he formerly did not have in America. Now, armed, flush with profits from various enterprises legit and illegal, the black man seems poised also against the white man. But the Arab has no love for the black, and less so for this black Muslim crowd led by dirtbag Farrakhan. Meanwhile, the Chinese have taken over the resources of many countries, minerals and rare earths, oil and land. They are poised in some fashion to be the new number one, but still they must work in the white world, taking mainly from the black and the brown South American, the Caribbean, the African. This sets up a yellow versus colored war. The Chinese man, though, has not forgotten his treatment during the days of building American railroads. Even the Japanese, whom the Chinese hate, have some kinship, being incarcerated during World War II, then subjected to armament emasculation after the war, a great dishonor to them. Though the yellow people fight amongst themselves in Southeast Asia, there is still the anger against the French and American for Vietnam, and Korea is likewise peeved, the North in its communism, the South in its perpetual occupation. The Muslim fights in Africa against the animist, Darfur being the epicenter. This widespread conflict has now turned into a proxy war for NATO and America in general against China and Marxism, such as was Gaddafi. Libya was a war against colonialism as much as it was a battle to get rid of Muammar. Egypt, always the odd man out in Africa, is now under Islamic rule, and the spite against the pyramids is not about paganism, but because they're not Islamic. This has turned master racist. In Germany, the neo-Nazis riot and foment against Turkish immigration gone wild and against multiculturalism, against Jews and blacks and so forth. In other words, a Fourth Reich. These nationalists lead the Germanic charge against the Eurozone, rejecting the weakness of debtor nations, learning to hate Merkel as Sarkozy was deposed in favor of socialism. Now Europe will be plunged into internecine war as the non-white races lick their lips, though certainly not in league with each other for very long. The colonialism in Africa by the French, Spanish, Portuguese, German, and British still reverberates, as it does in Mexico and South America, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and even the Pacific. As power flows downriver to various nations eager to sell resources in exchange for armaments, angry races and their maniacal leaders plan revenge for hurts hundreds of years old. But this is just the beginning. These real hatreds and actual savageries are tools by which sophisticated manipulators grab hold of even more turf. Thus, the communist and Islamic radicals, having no scruples, take a stranglehold on these seething volcanoes and hurl them with keen puppetry, their propaganda honed for some time. The secret societies and secret police participate behind the scenes, directing traffic and chaos. It doesn't matter anymore who is the communist because it is transcended emotionally. The rubble will be sifted by communists and radicals and also by freedom-loving peoples, but those ideologies are now behind a curtain of real hate. Anti-colonialism, the natural extension of political correctness, has caused even a libertarian to mull whether or not freedom is a sham won by conquest of peoples, taking of resources, isolation from squalor. It becomes chic to say that liberty is just a code word for the oppression of the unfortunate, that the rich man is a thief and liar and murderer, that the politician is a puppet of the NWO. While it is still important to distinguish between communism and individualism, and to fight always for the latter, it must be kept in mind that the communists, being taught fundamentally to aid those in trouble, are heroes to the oppressed, and therefore the communists seem to be anti-colonialists, even though their aim is world domination. This explains why Obama seems like both a communist and an anti-colonialist, but we shall not know until the very end which side of the playing field he actually works for.